Okay. Well, welcome everybody to our first live link of 2026. Um, it's a delight to be back and actually to be in the warm indoors. Um, we're delighted this evening to have Praise with us. So we're going to be thinking this evening all about the topic of work with chiefs. And I've got some pictures that I can show, and we're reckoning on sort of dividing into three sections. Praise will be telling us after a little introduction in each one. Praise will be telling us more about them in these groupings. So first of all, just about what the role of chiefs in the community are and why they're important. In the community, what role they have, what influence. Then in a second section, we'll talk about the Learn to Serve for Chiefs program, which many of you will know has been running for several years, but we had a very big investment into that this year in the Blantyre West Rural, and lots coming to faith of the Chiefs. So Praise will give us an update on how that went all through 2025. And then in a third section, we'll move on to the work with the bylaws in the community for the protection of women and girls and other vulnerable people in the community. And that's taken a big step forward in 2025 as well. So there's been a lot of work on the Chiefs front in this last year. So we're delighted, Praise, to have you there and with us. And there we go. We'll spotlight you. It's looking very crisp and clear in that picture now. You're down in your office, are you now? Oh, I think you're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, sure. I'm in the office, though I'm using a little bit odd gadget, but still, I believe that the picture is quite clear.
Yeah.
I'm down in the office here for the better signal.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
Well, welcome to you. And yeah, there's your sound is coming through well, so that's good. So we'll go straight into our first section, where we'll think about the place in the community and the role of the chiefs. So I'll just share some. There we go. Can you see the Kerusso logo here?
Yes.
Yes. Right. Fine. Okay. Chiefs come in various shapes and sizes. This is three of them from the community. And so we're going to think about what is the role of the chief. Well, communities contain many people. Half of them are children. So the children doing well, the children getting educated is a responsibility that chiefs should have over within their community. Many older people as well, women and widows as well, people with HIV, others in need, child-headed families that there are within the community. So some of the more vulnerable people that chiefs should be on the lookout for. Then there's just getting around the place. This was one of the main roads after some recent floods, and then obviously when there's disasters come, people look to the chief for interventions and help. That's a child-headed family, and that's another So that was just a few introductory pictures to get us going. Alistair and Roberta, you've just wanting to ask something?
Sorry, can you say that again?
You raised the hand, so I presumed you were wanting to ask something.
No, sorry.
No, okay, don't worry.
That was a mistake.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So praise that. Those were just a few pictures of some of the things that chiefs face. So what tell us all about what is the role of the chief, and why is working with the chiefs so important for building a Christian kingdom in the community?
First of all, let me thank God for this wonderful opportunity that I'm actually having this tonight on our end here. And I would like to thank for affording me this opportunity to make the first presentation in this LiveLink for the year 2026. What an honor. So I really thank God because of this great opportunity. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone. Year 2026, the year of our Lord. I am privileged to make the first presentation in regards to the community outreach work that we are doing in Malawi, being someone who is on the chair to coordinate some of these activities. The law of coordinating this community work is quite huge, it's big, exciting, sometimes very frustrating as well. Sometimes you just feel like maybe I've had enough of this. I can't go anymore, but through your prayers, support, and moral support and whatever, financial support is actually getting us going. And we are very excited knowing that we are not alone, much as we are here on the ground, but on the background, there's actually a lot of people that always keep us in prayers. But all the same, we see the Lord working through us all together, seeing a lot of impact and a lot of movements for the towards the building of the kingdom right here in the rural setup in Malawi. Let me start by mentioning that J-Life started like about disciple making, youth disciple making, and then youth and church leaders leadership and disciple making. And then we realized that after we've trained these people, or after we've impacted their lives, they were quite finding some tough time and hard time to make an appeal or to break through in the community setup. It is this against this background that as a ministry, through the vision of the ministry's director, as well as the partner, the key partner, the Kerusso Trust, found it very necessary that we should also incorporate the work of chiefs in the community, because of the very one thing that the chiefs are quite very influential in the community, and their law entails a lot of stuff, including maybe maintaining peace and order in the community, mediating the conflicts when have risen, ensuring that there's social discipline within the communities, and so forth. One of the another key role for the chiefs is actually on the land management. Constitutionally, the land belongs to the government, but then in the local setup, in the rural community, it's a customary land. And the customary land, the chiefs, they're actually on the management read in as far as the issue of land is concerned. So they are able to allocate the land for communal or family and community communal working, as well as looking into other resources made available for households. So the chief, on that part, we may realize that is indeed very critical and very influential in the community. Another critical component, one of its their key roles, is the issue of cultural custodianship. Cultural custodianship. These guys or these people, these leaders, they are at a very focal point where they uphold the issues to do with traditions, some community performing ceremonies, like the issues to do with babes, marriages, deaths, all these issues. They are at the center of the whole thing. Like at every funeral, if the child is born in the family, the chief in the rural setup needed to be informed that there is a baby in this house. And the issues of marriages, we cannot officiate, people cannot marry without informing the chief. If worse come to worse, maybe the teen unwanted or teen pregnancies and whatever attracts even the better wealth of the king or of the village chiefs in the community. Even deaths, when there is a funeral in the community, before you start mourning the deceased, you really have to inform the chief. If you don't, and then the chief just hear from somewhere else, then you're in trouble, the family is in trouble. So you can realize how influential these people are. They also act as the government liaison officers. Every development aspect which the government would like to bring into the community, you have to go through the chief. If the chief says no to this initiative in this community, then the government always have tough time to bring that type of initiative for the benefit of the people in that community. Another aspect is an issue of development, mobilization, or development and mobilization. Actually, for the government, as I have rightly said, if he wants to bring the development into the community, the channel remains in the hands of the chiefs. If the chiefs are not there, or they are not for that, it will be difficult for the government to mobilize the community for easy facilitation of that type of development. Maybe another role that I would wish to add is the issue to do with justice. I already said something on settling of disputes, enforcing of customary laws, and other things. Under customary law is where now the issue of bylaws comes under it. So there is a lot of things. The chiefs is at liberty, the chiefs are at liberty to actually document some roles or bylaws which will be not in conflict with the broader role of the Constitution in a way that they would wish to enforce some other initiatives in the community or upholding of justice in relating to issues of injustices. So basically, this is a simple or rather detailed, a little bit detailed explanation of what the roles of the chiefs are. So to wrap it all, these are men and women of great influence in the community. Why it is necessary to reach out to them? It is indeed very necessary that we should reach out to them with the gospel. Once they are transformed and become part and parcel of kingdom builders, then we are rest assured, we are actually assured that there's a greater influence, gospel influence in the community. And a lot of people, they will also be able to reach out to, even through them as chiefs. And another thing is the issue to do with management of developmental initiatives in the community. If chiefs have been transformed, then we are assured that there is long-lasting impact or a huge impact in the community in as far as the issue of justice is concerned, and the issue of reaching out to unreached with the gospel, as well as fairness in all developmental endeavors. So that's how I can maybe tackle the first part of the presentation. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Praise. And just to add, these are inherited roles, and not all the chiefs are particularly well educated. In fact, many of them are very poorly educated. So that's one challenge that affects the way they run their communities. And not just sort of education, but obviously also the aspect of being the custodians of culture. If they're not Christians, then very often that culture is an African traditional religion and practice culture. So you then find the chief can be at odds with the pastors in their community. So you don't have all the leaders of the community, spiritual and community, pulling in the same directions always. That's a fair issue to raise as to why we needed to engage the chiefs. You comment on that, Praise?
Yeah, that's very true, Jonathan. That's poses like as one of the biggest challenges. The issue of law education and the other things which you've mentioned, need reflect what our chiefs are all about, more especially in the rural areas. Except nowadays, some of maybe senior chiefs, we are able to find some of them are well educated with a better understanding of things. If you happen to get into that community where they are able to grasp and understand some of the things as a big chief, then you are assured that even transcoding of the message downwards to the subjects becomes very easy, and they're able to grasp things in a very better way. We have a typical example, especially where we are working. We are actually working currently in Blantyre Rural West with 3 or 4 Blantyre Rural West plus Chikwawa North, we 4 traditional authorities. But whenever we have the meetings, we are able to appreciate that at least 3 of them, they are able to contribute positively, precisely true. And one of them is very, very passive. And that is also reflective in his leadership in the other community that we get to. So yeah, that is very true.
Yeah. So when they've got education, then there's critical thinking, and that can be really, really helpful. I think what we'll do is we'll go straight into the second section where we talk about the Learn to Serve for Chiefs, and then we'll have a pause at the end of that for any questions, because I think the Learn to Serve for Chief is a direct reflection on both these roles and the needs that we feel needed to be taught to the chiefs. So let me just introduce that back in with a few pictures. So engaging with community leaders, the Learn to Serve for Chiefs program. So training community leaders based upon biblical principles and not traditional culture. Praise will give us an update on what's happened, because there've been a lot of training sessions of this in the past year. Different locations. Sometimes it's in churches, sometimes it's in the senior chief's buildings, his headquarters. Sometimes it's in another community building. The chiefs are invited in and are taught the program. And these are some of the critical topics that get covered in it: community governance, the roles of the chief; social justice, discrimination, safeguarding in the community; servant leadership, integrity, vision, good decision making; community development, how to work with people and what processes to follow for good community development management. Again, praise raised that role. And increasingly also the importance of the chief promoting creation care, education, environment protection from flash flooding with trees, and preserving good health. So these are some of the Learn to Serve for Chiefs meetings that have happened, different locations. Some of these in the last year, showing pictures. That one will be in a church. And then at the end of their meetings, presentations of Bibles. This is one of the groups of chiefs from fairly near the J-Life site itself. So a little bit towards the edge of Blantyre, a little bit more money in that community, slightly better dressed chiefs. And then when you go out to one of the more remote rural locations, you can see a different group of chiefs, slightly different demeanor and different dress, reflecting the wealth or poverty of the areas that they lead. Many chiefs come to faith through this, and praise will share that excitedly. This was one chief that I met 2 or 3 years ago, and then changing the way they do the development projects after they come to faith. Instead of calling on the witch doctors, calling to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ to intervene in it. So this is the curriculum, and we'll maybe just get praise to pick up at this point and make a comment about the things that we've included in Learn to Serve for Chiefs, and obviously the way it's approached and why that's appropriate to the needs of chiefs. And then ask Praise to give us an update of what happened in 2025 and where we're at with the program. So back to you, Praise. I'll leave this up for a minute if you'd like to just say something about the curriculum first of all.
All right, thank you so much, JG. What good background of what Learn to Serve is all about. Actually, the aim is to impact the lives of chiefs so that in turn they should be able to impact their community. And our approach is the biblical approach, reaching out to them, train them, and give them the Bible characters of chiefs who actually had a better standing with the Lord in faith. So the curriculum that you've actually that you are able to see, it is aiming at making that impact in their lives in order to see them transforming to the kind of the readers that God wants of them. The training is done in 4 phases. The first one with the foundational topics, which we actually build the momentum, like talking about the position, what does the Constitution of Malawi says, and its placement of chiefs, what are their laws according to the Constitution, and some of the roles and duties which I shared in the background or at the beginning of this presentation, and give them opportunity to highlight some of the challenges which they do face in the community. So the first one is all about laying the foundation and actually inviting them to the table where we should be thinking together with them, because sometimes it is not easy to notice some of the gaps and the challenges up until the opportunity is granted for people to reflect on their situation, and then giving them opportunity to think through the situation is when sometimes people are able to actually realize which are some of the challenges that they are facing. Having laid the foundation, then I think the course, the level 2 is actually aiming at trying to think with them to propose some of the possible solutions through the discussion of the topics which they have been highlighted. The issue of servant leadership, for example, with biblical examples, drawing from the scripture, a certain character of a king who was more or less like a servant leader, and what was his impact, which that servant leader made, and how was his kingdom being seen as an example to the outer community or to the global community. So that helps them now to begin to think, and then we analyzed together with them the styles of leadership which they actually that kind of the king actually practiced. Okay, what was his faith in God? How was his faith actually influenced his life? How his faith influenced his decisions? And what was the benefit of him trusting in the Lord? All those things. So people slowly, they'll begin to understand that it is indeed very critical after actually realizing some of their challenges. And then they begin to think that it is indeed possible to work on the solutions to the challenges, but then not alone, then you must have the outer power or the spiritual backing in the whole process. So that slowly make them to begin to think that it is indeed very important. to engage God. And then level 3, it's about highlighting some of the social issues and social challenges, contemporary social issues and social challenges that are there. What are some of the social injustices which are being noticed right in their communities, right before their eyes, which they're just being observed without taking any action? And then we invite them to the discussion. Is it necessary that we can be part of that solution? So it is at level 3 in some of the areas where it was highlighted on the need to formulate some of the bylaws which would govern the activities or affairs of the communities which they are actually reading. So level 3 it really helps them to think even more deeper, to find some of the solutions and some of the possible interventions which they can themselves implement in the community to make sure that things changes. At level 4, then we invite them to the practical aspect. The practical aspect is actually to give them the opportunity to get to other areas or take them to other areas outside their area of jurisdiction, to learn from their colleagues how they are managing their community on the issues of social justice or injustices, how their colleagues are working on the issue to do with creation care or other developmental aspects, and the spiritual impact that those areas also are experiencing as a result of having the sound leadership, the leadership led by God-fearing leaders. So through this Learn to Serve, we've seen a lot of impact now being actually witnessed right in the community. For example, one of the pictures that Jonathan showed, it is for village head Gatumba. Village head Gatumba reached to the point of inviting me to his house, actually, to burn some of the charms which he has been using for his chieftaincy, and he invited Christ into his own life. And he also extended the invitation after grouping the whole community right in his village, that we share the gospel with the community, the whole village, which at the end of the day, the village converted to Christianity. So we've seen a lot of testimonies being shared amongst the chiefs themselves, who have been transformed and actually having a better influence in their community. And some we've also actually received feedback from the community members themselves, testifying on a better change of their chiefs. For example, at the times where maybe disaster hits, maybe there is other developmental issues or distributing of some other social support resources to the communities, a lot of chiefs used to abuse such things. But now, since the introduction of Learn to Serve for the chiefs, we've been receiving a lot of positive feedback from members of the communities, mentioning that their chiefs, actually they are changing on the way they are administering some of the resources to the community. So I think that's some of the things which I can mention in the meantime. Maybe, I don't know, Jonathan, if I have to take it further but I feel like maybe these are very critical areas which I have mentioned.
Maybe just
Suffice
briefly tell us a little bit about how Learn to Serve has gone this year as well, because we've done a lot of work in this past year.
All right. Yeah. Learn to Serve for the year 2025 has been yet another success because we conducted actually close to 10 Learn to Serve trainings, which we conducted last year. And most of those centers were spread centers. Initially, in the year 2024, there were some areas which had a very big grouping of chiefs attending to the trainings. For example, at Kuntembwe, there was a time that recorded over 100 chiefs attending one session. So the hall was actually fully packed. So last year we splitted some of those centers to make sure that we are keeping the reasonable number of 60 to 70 if the number grows such big for easy management. And some of the chiefs could travel over 15 kilometers away from the venue or to the venue of the training. That was also creating another logistical issue and challenge. So we really had to make sure that we press them to closer to their convenience for easy management and to allow them to also walk or travel at a better or reasonable distance. So through that, we've seen ourselves pouring from levels 1, 2, up to 3 in most of the centers, thereby remaining 3 and 4 in some of the centers. So this year, 2026, we have actually planned that we'll close up most of the centers because it will be more of Learn to Serve level 4s in most of the centers. And this is the practical, very practical aspect that I have mentioned about. So, so far, that's what I can say.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you. Can I open it up for any questions on both the role of the chiefs and the Learn to Serve for Chiefs program as a response to that role? Any
Can I, it's Colin here. Can I just throw something in here? When I was out in October, I was taken totally by surprise at the level of influence of these chiefs. It's difficult for us in our society to perceive what the role of a chief actually is. And I was just trying to write down some of the things that they do, that they cover. They're like a registrar of records, a local mayor, the death certification, a government liaison officer, local councillor, a public records official, a magistrate. They cover all these sort of roles in our society. And what staggered me was talking to Connex about the number of people who come under the jurisdiction, if that's the right word, of a senior chief. And without putting words in your mouth, Praise, how many people do you think come under the influence of one single senior chief?
A good question. Actually,
I know it's a huge range. It's a huge range, yes, but it's something that staggered me. You know, you tend to think of a village or a small number of people, but the senior chiefs have a huge influence over a very large number of people.
Yeah, if I have gotten the question right, is the want to understand the number.
Yes, it's a scale of their influence.
Oh, Yeah, the scale of influence is quite very huge because of the very reason that I have talked about in the some of their key roles. Because the chiefs is about managing community resources and people. Unlike the politicians who've got the elected positions. But these ones, it is something that has been inherited from their parents. So they do have the influence in the community. But the greater the number, or the greater the population of the area of jurisdiction, the bigger the influence that person becomes as well. Simply because he has a strong voice, knowing that under him there is a big voice of people that he is actually commanding. So the influence is quite very huge, and most of the politicians are also afraid of them because these are the people that they own people, they have people, and they are always with people right in the community. If they manage them very, very well, then a person becomes so powerful and very influential, even to the decisions of the government as well. So that's what I can mention if that answers the question.
And the senior chief, you're talking about each senior chief having tens of thousands of people in their area.
Yeah, that's the thing that got me. This is not a few hundred or a few tens of people per person or a few hundreds. It's tens of thousands per senior chief. And then this is influencing tens of thousands times however many people. It is a huge significance.
Yeah, that is very true. For example, at the moment, for better understanding or for further understanding, let me just think of the population for Blantyre district, divide by 8 senior chiefs. Blantyre at the moment is slightly over 1.3 million. It should be around 1.5 million people. So 1.5 million divided by 8, we have only 8 senior chiefs or traditional authority in Blantyre, traditional authorities in Blantyre. So one senior chief or traditional authority.
200,000 people.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is not a village. This is not village level influence. We have no equivalent of this in the UK, for example. Nothing like it. This is a role that covers many people and has vast influence in the local society. And it's hard for us to get our heads around that. Not even our MPs barely have this much influence, and they don't have the influence at all, you know. But, you know, the time you take in the local registrar, the mayor, the magistrates, all these levels, this is all enshrined in one person. It's incredible what the influence that this can have.
And that's why we've always felt it's really important to you know, to work with the chiefs at all levels, at the village level, at the group village level, and because of the consistent work that Praise has done in the community, he's got the ear and the cooperation of these senior chiefs to be able to bring the gospel in. We must just move on a moment. Audrey, you've had a couple of questions there. I wondered if do you want me to read those out, or do you want to ask them? You're very welcome to at this point.
Well, I was just thinking when you said, Praise, that one chief had you there to the community, and then they had become Christians. It sounds like as if the whole community became a Christian community. How did you feel that worked? Was that, you know, what kind of, I don't know, would that have been the parents or the children or the young adults, or who would have converted in that situation, or committed, it might be a better word?
A good question. That village, almost everyone, children, adults, and even the oldies, all of them surrendered their lives to Christ. So it was a huge thing, very huge. As you have already mentioned, that the chiefs have got influence in the community, and again, with the integrity of our ministry, it now has a name in almost every community. So when the chief mentioned to his subject to say, the J-Life team is coming, it was like a huge attention to every person in the community. One is the chief was invited every subject in the village, and at the same time, the message carrier as well has got a name, a good name in the community. So it was huge explosion.
So do you now have praise? Do you now have a bigger number of pastors in that community? Do you have follow-up?
But not as regular as we should have been doing, but we some of them we referred them to Assemblies of God and Living Waters churches.
Right.
These are churches that we feel like maybe they can grow in their faith properly, but at times I do make a follow-up with that community. But like last year, because of the tight schedule and whatever, it was only once that I visited, because that occurred in 2024. But this has been actually, it's only one isolated case. It's only one case study. We've been having a lot of cases similar to this event. So because of our tight schedule, sometimes it makes very difficult for us to make a follow-up. But the most important thing is that we build linkages with the churches, which are right there in the community, in order to nurture these newly converted Christians.
And can I ask you one slightly different question?
Another thing that I have to mention, the Learn to Serve for Chiefs is going concurrently with Learn to Serve for the church leaders. Areas which we are taking Learn to Serve for the chiefs, most of those areas we've also done the Learn to Serve for the church leaders. So we are building a very good now linkage or network of these community members with the church leaders, which we are training through the Learn to Serve, in order for the church leaders to take these new converts and grow and journey with them in their faith. And another thing that I have also to mention is that we do also have the community outreach. This is the feeding program. And the feeding program which we are having, more especially for the little ones in the community, is also tied up with the gospel. So these are the same people that we get to, or we reach out to whenever we are going there with the maybe the relief program or the community feeding program for the malnourished children, or in the feeding centers. And On top of that, we are also having this the tracts, which is actually the more especially the book of John, which has the daily study topic in Chichewa, and with some questions that new converts are actually on their own. They are able to work on those questions in order for them to grow in their faith. So it's like every area where we are going with the Learn to Serve for Chiefs, there are also already other existing programs, community outreach programs, which we are also conducting, which every program is tied up to the gospel. So it's actually a network of, it's a package full of, I should say, we are creating the environment where those that the Holy Spirit wishes to, they should grow in their faith, because it's like we are touching every angle, the church, the community leadership, and through other social programs, we tie up with the environment where a Christian can grow.
That sounds very, very impressive. Thank you. This is just a very quick question. We're talking about the chiefs, and they were doing so many different jobs, so many different responsibilities. Do they have staff?
Oh, I've missed the end part.
Do they have staff? Do they have a number of people working for them doing a lot of the different jobs?
Yeah, a good question. No staff in part of this chiefs, but then what they do, they appoint the council of advisors in every community, and these are volunteers. So when there is any issue to do with the conflict, the council of advisors, they are part and parcel of the team that actually help them. So there is a lot of volunteerism in voluntary work in the community. In the aspect of development, they have what they call village development committees. At the TA level, there is what they call area development committees. And these are well-structured committees, which we also work through them. And in other cases, they use what the leadership of community-based organizations. And as a ministry, we also use, in other cases, the community-based organizations as well as the church. So depending on the nature of the program that we are implementing or the project that we are implementing, we choose which is the right voluntary network to reach through. So that would be my answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
And of course, many of the programs that we're doing, like community children's Bible clubs, those can only take place in the community if the chief gives the go-ahead. In fact, you've had chiefs begging you to open new community children's Bible clubs more than we feel we can fund and manage. The demand is there. So only those kind of things can happen with the chiefs say so. But so the important thing is getting the confidence of the chiefs. And I think one of the things you shared with me is that in the last year with the Learn to Serve for Chiefs, you mentioned having to divide groups into two, and obviously that meant running more training sessions, but you were getting 90-something% of all the chiefs in the community turning up for these trainings, which actually was phenomenal to hear. And I'm sure it's not just for the lunch. They're coming because they actually recognize they don't get a lot of training for all these large diversity of roles that Colin was highlighting, and yet they don't really get much training for it, and and even underpinning it, they don't really get sort of principles. They don't get a worldview framework to operate it on. So sharing a Christian framework and gives a foundation for being able to do those things, as well as actual direct training in how to oversee justice. It's actually, why is justice important? That kind of thing is a framework you can set. That and it just feels a phenomenal. It's been a phenomenal piece of work to see that happening. What I'm planning to do is actually, we'll hold off all the bylaws discussion, and we'll have you back for another LiveLink, because I think there's another whole discussion on that. We're covering a lot on what is the nature and role of the chief, and therefore why Learn to Serve for Chiefs is a good response to that. That really is, let's just say, scratching the chiefs where they itch, I think is the sort of expression we would use here. Maybe just throw that open again to anyone else if there's any other questions on this, because I think understanding this place of the chiefs is key to seeing why this is so key to the gospel.
How are these chiefs appointed, and who appoints them?
How? Sorry?
How are they appointed? Who do you decide who becomes a chief and who doesn't?
Yeah, that's a good question. The biggest qualification for the chief to be appointed should be someone from the royal family, number one. Number two, somebody with sound minds, somebody who should be able to manage the resources and the people in the community. How they get appointed, actually, when the chief dies, because in most cases, the chiefs are appointed at the moment when maybe the chief dies. And depending on the tribe where the chief is coming from, for the Ngonis, normally it's the firstborn son in the family. When the firstborn, when there's no son in the family, sometimes it's actually the woman that takes over. For other tribes, it's the aunties. If the chief was the uncle, then the one who is going who was sent to the throne will be somebody will be a son or a daughter of the sister to the uncle, was the chief. So it depends. So the criteria for selection, when the chief dies, then the government actually gives space to the royal family to pick one from within the one they feel, the royal family feels that person is gonna make a good king or a good chief right in the community.
Thank you.
Any other one last question?
I think I've asked this question before. Do policemen exist in Malawi, in the rural areas?
Do
policemen
police
in Malawi, in the rural?
Yeah, they do, but not any few areas, few parts. Most of the rural areas, the police are not there. Actually, the government relies on the law of the chiefs to maintain law and order right in the community. So yeah, only few, maybe small trading centers in the rural areas, that's where you rarely find maybe a police unit, but most of the places, no police.
So drawing it together now, we're just going to we'll go into a brief time of praise and prayer. So praise, if you can just come up with some praise and prayer points, I'll sort of start it off by saying, give thanks for the phenomenal response of these chiefs to the availability of the Learn to Serve for Chiefs program. I remember a conversation with Connex 10 years ago where Connex said to me, we need to train the pastors because training youth doesn't work without training the pastors. So the pastors will mentor their youth. And then he said, but we also are only going to bring community transformation if we get to train the chiefs. And so I said, how do we do that? And he said, at that stage, I don't know. Well, the answer has come before us. It's the power of holistic ministry consistently in a community amongst them at all the different levels, builds confidence that the gospel actually means something, that Christ is real in the community, and that we, J-Life, are on their side and are in it for them, not for themselves. And I think that consistency over the years, spearheaded with your feeding program, but various other things that Kerusso has also been able to support, I think has been great. And when I share around churches, I often share that story of gospel success from your side and say there is a lot for us to learn here in the UK from the power of holistic ministry delivered consistently in a community to bring transformation of individuals' lives and transformation of the community. So I'm sure we'll be commending you for what you've done here, but also we'll be giving thanks to the Lord for the way he's done that. So I think that should be in our prayer time. And we should also be praying for the program that Connex and you and I have in planning for 2026 and budgeting up and so on, where particularly there's going to be quite a lot of this level 4, the practical outworking of the principles that have already been put across to them. And I think many of these people do learn very well from practical examples. So I think it's a very insightful thing, like taking them off to somewhere else where the chiefs have been doing creation care and seeing what difference this makes to flash flooding, this kind of thing, showing them that it's not just theoretical, it's very real what we're teaching them, and doing it all in a biblical context. So pray for that, as that there's a bit more logistics involved in transporting a load of chiefs off to another area to see things happening. And there's going to be quite a lot of those in this year, isn't there? So those are a couple of things I'd highlight from the nature of Chiefs' work and the Learn to Serve for Chiefs response, which we've looked at. Would you like to add some other praise and prayer points?
Yeah, certainly, yes. The first prayer point is for the team here. Wisdom and guidance means a critical thing. It's not easy to work in such environment. It requires guidance in the whole thing, knowing that we are about to start the most better part of the activities for the year 2026, I think, starting from this March. So wisdom and guidance is one critical thing. Another thing is continuously praying for the chiefs in the villages that must have that spiritual impact and the godly leadership as one of the critical prayer points And another prayer point is the issue to do with the networking of chiefs that we have instituted to make sure that there is cohesion. They should be able to understand, there should be unity amongst them, the unity of purpose in order to counter the challenges which the community has been facing over a number of years. I feel like these three are part of the critical prayer points which we need also to mention before God.
And I would also add, there's now, a request coming, aren't there, for pastor and chiefs joint conferences, which just feels like something that a few years ago was so far off reality, where they're wanting to get together to plan development activities in a godly way, bringing the church and the community leaders together in one direction. And I know when we were discussing in October, when I was out there, we were realizing that the level of that plus demands for Learn to Serve for Chiefs in adjacent senior chiefs areas, because the reputation of it is spreading out. It was looking a real stretch for Kerusso to have the budget to be able to meet the number of opportunities that were opening up, which is a nice problem to have, but it's a challenge, because the doors do seem to keep opening here across hopefully the whole of Blantyre district in the first instance, and maybe slowly beyond. So yeah, wisdom in what we plan and how we use the limited resources that we can raise for it well this coming year.
Just a quick add to that, Jonathan. I don't know how the news got to Ncheu, but I wish to inform you that in November I found myself in Ncheu. Actually, a certain senior group head had invited his subjects and even pastors, and even those people that we call the Wazukulu, those that work at the graveyard. And the head of each and every, the uncle for every family in that community, that I should speak to them. So the news is spreading all over Malawi at the moment. And a lot of people, they are very excited about it. And they want to tap from what is happening.
So for those who don't know, Ncheu is about 150 kilometers from Blantyre. It's halfway between Blantyre and Lilongwe.
In fact, that is Mlangeni is 165 kilometers.
So it's so just as the pastor training has spread nationwide, it feels that the chiefs training has opportunity for future years. So, okay, thanks very much, Praise. Let's just split into groups for a time of prayer and praise, and then we'll come back together at the end for a final.